Good evening and welcome to this great debate. Once more, we are here tonight being joined by amazing people from different parts of the world, because that is what we do every time when we come together. It is 22 minutes past 8 p.m. East African time, but we are very sorry for all the time that has been wasted here. It's always because of things which are beyond our control. Yes, so what is happening is we have a very interesting motion of discussion tonight. And this motion is something that is so close and so near and dear to our hearts. The issue of NGOs and the issue of money that is spread around in our communities, in our rural areas, in our urban areas and everywhere. This money is available, is used in security, in education, in funding for different programs. And tonight we are asking ourselves, is it doing more harm than good? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Okoth Opondo, the host of this great debate night. And as we said, we are making a platform and we are creating a program that everyone will want to be part of, because this is the only way we can do it. Welcome to the great debate, and that is the debate night. Tonight, I'm joined by four amazing debaters, two on the proposing side and two on the opposing side, on the motion that says that aid money and NGOs are doing more harm than good to our communities. Right here in Kenya, in the East African region, and yes, we said that. On the proposing side, we have Omukoko, Stephen, joining us from Switzerland, and Ohisa Oduho, that is a South Sudanese based here in Nairobi, Kenya. On the opposing side, we have Andrew Musyoka and Lungashi Dorcas. And of course, all the debaters have been informed of the rules of the debate, and the rules of the debate are just simple. Allow your opponent speak when the opponent has his or her time. Number two, we are going for about four rounds of the debate. The first round of the debate, each speaker will have a minute each to do an introduction. Second round of the debate, each speaker will have 5 minutes to do a presentation. The third round, we will allow the members of audience who are with us here in the virtual hall in the Zoom to ask their questions, and also we'll pick questions from the Facebook page. The fourth round of the session will allow every speaker, that is every debater, 3 minutes each to address the questions which have been raised or to cross-examine each other. Then we'll finally head to the last round, that is the 1 minute for each speaker to give their closing statements. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting more time, allow me to introduce the first proposer from the proposing team, and I guess that should be Stephen Omukoko.
Yeah, okay, I think I can go first, though it was Ohisa who was the first proposer.
No problem. He is here. Ohisa Oduho, if you are the first speaker, kindly take your first 1 minute for the introduction. And also just to remind you very fast, Wilda Marega is our timekeeper. So the bell will be rung at the end of the first minute. In the other segments, the bell will be rung when it is 1 minute to go. So when you hear the bell in the other segments, just know that you have a minute to go. Ohisa Oduho, your 1 minute begins right now, sir.
Much obliged, Opondo. I am very honored to be part of this distinguished discourse. My name is Ohisa Oduho. I am a management consultant by profession. I am a staunch Pan-Africanist, staunch humanist, and an entrepreneur. And I look forward to engaging my opponents in this debate. I hope to have a fruitful debate, a respectful debate, and an intriguing and informative debate that shall leave the listeners, striving to develop their capacities for critical thinking about any subject matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very kindly. So we head to Mr. Andrew or Lungashi, who is the first speaker from the opposing side. Okay, if it is Andrew, your 1 minute begins right now, sir.
Good evening to all. My name, as you've been told, is Andrew Musyoka. I am negating this motion today because after long hours of research, looking at ground and statistical data, you will see that aid money and NGOs are actually doing more good than harm to our communities, and we're just blaming the wrong people. I'm very happy to engage with you all and get to know what your thoughts are.
Fantastic. So that is Andrew Musyoka being as brief as possible. And Andrew believes that the issue is not money. The issue is the people that the money is given to. Thank you. Let's go to the second speaker, the proposing side.
Can you hear me?
Very well.
My name is Kidaka Dorcas Lungashi. On the opposite side, that aid money and NGOs are doing more harm than good. This is because I believe and I have witnessed them doing far more amazing things than we have ever been able to experience.
We are struggling, Lungashi, we are struggling to hear you.
What about now?
Okay, go on.
Forget about being based, having their offices in the leafy suburbs of Nairobi. Their main work is focused on informal settlements and the rural areas. And if you visit those places, you'd really see that NGOs and aid money are doing the best they can to improve our view of the government. So by the end of this debate, I hope I'll be able to have convinced you that indeed NGOs and aid money are the best things that we can have for a moment. Thank you.
Wonderful. Second speaker from the proposing side.
Yeah, can I just request Lungashi to mute because there is a lot of echo, and then I can proceed. Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I think the point that Andrew has already pointed is that, first of all, we are not here to blame anyone. We are not here to blame the donors. We are not here to blame the recipients. We are here to prove that aid money is doing actually more harm than good. And we truly understand that aid money comes with good intentions. But we are here to also show that sometimes the path to hell, or the way to hell, is paved with good intentions. And that on top of funding obtuse and inept and corrupt leaders in Africa, aid money is actually not as innocuous as it appears to be. That is the point that we seek to make today. We're using examples such as the Jack Ma mask that we had. We can talk about the livestock project in Western Kenya, among many other things that we have done extensive research on and provide empirical data that I hope will help make our case. Thank you.
Very well. We head to the first, I think we're done with all the introductions. The first speaker from the proposing side, first speaker from the opposing side. First, Andrew did your introduction and Lungashi did your introduction. And now let us welcome everyone who is joining us for this debate, wherever they are watching us from. If you're watching us from home, from school, wherever you are, we are always very grateful because you make this program possible. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that we are also live on our Facebook page, Camp D Voices. You can join us from there, Mr. Stephen Nzusa. I see you. Welcome to the panel, and every friend who is joining us tonight. You are amazing souls. You make this program very possible. And you know what? On a day that you are hosting this kind of minds, you have to be sober. I'm just trying to be sober because the conversation we're about to start here, this is a conversation for everyone. We live in our communities, we live in communities, and we know what is happening. We know the role of the government and we know the role of NGOs. The question we are asking ourselves tonight is the aid money and the NGOs doing more harm than good to our community? The issue is they're doing good, but compare the good that they're doing and the harm that they're doing. Are we justified to say that they're doing more harm than good? Or will we go with the side, the opposers who are saying it is doing more good than harm? The first speaker, proposing side, your 5 minutes begin right now.
Thank you very much, Bwana Okondo. Now, I'll just get straight to it. While foreign aid may have some benefits in its wake, upon conducting a thorough and candid cost-benefit analysis of the status of foreign aid globally, one shall clearly witness that costs far outweigh the benefits, and not just for recipient countries, but also for the donor countries themselves. It is pertinent for this discourse to highlight the nature of aid. Aid is classified in the following key thematic areas: investment in people or provision of social welfare, environmental protection and climate change, support to non-state organizations involved in human development, food security and migration issues, healthcare, education, and even housing. Now, from the outset, all these are duties and obligations that a government has to its citizens as per the dictates of the social contract and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The need for and provision of foreign aid is therefore a candid admission by both parties of the failure of a recipient government to uphold each end of the social contract and to uphold the human rights. It is inherently questionable, therefore, the rationale behind the seemingly perpetual willingness of donor countries to continue providing foreign aid to recipient countries despite the clear gross mismanagement of the points for this course include and are not limited to the following. One, it is a fallacy of conditionality. The justification made for conditionality is that aid is always given under the conditionality to a plain aim solving problems for which they were to resolve. This aid can be withheld in times of trespasses or failure to adhere to conditionality, which are seen as sine qua non factors which make aid yield results. Among many of these, good governance and rule of law have been identified as fertile grounds where aid could produce good fruits, simply because a conducive political environment can foster accountability, formulate good policies, which enable transparency and practice of human rights, respect for the rule of law, and other political governing aspects. There are several cases one could use to prove this justification as being outright fallacious in most, if not all, circumstances. In light of time, I shall focus on the US-Israeli foreign aid relations. It is important to highlight that aid is not always just socio-economical, but also includes military aid. While in most cases, economic aid surpasses military aid, the US-Israeli case is a special one, where military aid surpasses economic aid by a good $3.2 billion in the fiscal year 2017. As witnessed recently during the recent war on Gaza, consideration for human rights is clearly second to values or lack thereof. During this time, the Biden administration would still consider supplying Israel with more military aid. Fascinating it is that there are those that hail from the school of thought that this matter is debatable. The second is volatility of aid. The positive impact of foreign aid is being frustrated by the lack of reliability in aid flows. This further amplifies the already volatile macroeconomic environment of low-income countries. A study conducted by OECD in 2003 identified and coordinated donor practices and delays in disbursements as two of the most burdensome donor practices. As such, despite the need, one cannot rely on aid to meet time constraints projects have to take before completion. The unpredictability of aid flows does not bolster good governance in any way. It hinders coherent government expenditure and the development of sound accountability for institutions in recipient countries. Volatility of aid significantly exceeds that of other macroeconomic variables such as GDP or fiscal revenue. Aid was also found weakly procyclical. That is, it tends to be dispersed in periods when output or domestic revenue is high. The consequences of aid volatility or aggregate growth and consumption were found to be very high, approximately equivalent to the impact of the Great Depression. The potential gains related to the stability or aggregate consumption associated with dispersing aid in a stable and predictable manner are massive. In other words, poorly delivered aid, either in an unreliable or pro-cyclical manner, or both, can diminish the potential benefits of aid. From the start of the century, the problem of volatility of aid has increased and unfortunately has the dependency on aid. Indeed, further aggravating the already volatile macroeconomic environments of developing countries. The third is the direct political interference by donor agencies. Financial aid given to countries comes in the forms of grants and concessional loans. These are loans that are extended on terms substantially more generous than market loans. The concessionality is achieved either through interest rates below than those on the market, or grace periods, or a combination of these. IMF loans take the form of financial assistance contracted by economic hardship beyond its ability to manage. Now, as such, a case study here is given to Ghana. Is given on Ghana. In the course of the IMF program, the government of Ghana
is on our side, sir.
Very well, very well. Just to conclude, the it comes down to the fact that the IMF here was able to impose very clear fiscal and economic policies that would deter the progress of government down to the local government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. John Ohisa Oduho. That's the first speaker starting us off, and he has utilized his 5 minutes very well. We have the first speaker, the opposing side. And remember, the motion says that aid money and NGOs are doing more harm than good to our communities. We've had Oduho mentioning Israel and all that. I'm wondering if the opposers, that's the direction that we want to take, and that is what we're talking about when we're talking of our local communities here. Mr. Andrew Musyoka, your 5 minutes begin right now, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ohisa, John Ohisa, I'd like to bring you home because the motion talks about our communities. I want to bring you to Kenya. First of all, you did not expound on all types of aids. There are 6 types of aids. You talked about military aid, of which I heard about. But there is bilateral, multilateral, tied, project, and voluntary aid. It is very true that 3 of these types of aid are biased on the types of the kind of political environments that surround such a country, that surround the recipient country, and the political interests of the donor countries. Our argument is not about the harm and that aid money and NGOs have done. Our argument is that the quantum of good the aid money and NGOs have done has overly outweighed the quantum of bad aid money and NGOs have. When you look at the quantum of bad, aid money is the major suspect, true. But what about all the NGOs that have committed themselves to a cause to help social environment conservation, environmental conservation, wildlife conservation, who have helped protect in civil activist groups, for example, Amnesty International. Let me give you a case study of the work Amnesty International does. Amnesty International prevents government tyranny by standing up for civil rights. When I'm talking, there's Amnesty International, there's Africa Conservation Center, which is in Kenya, and they help in conservation of wildlife. They're based there. You can find them in Masai Mara and other game reserves which are in Kenya. What is the point of aid money? What are NGOs and aid money? What is their purpose? NGOs, by definition, is an organization of private individuals who believe in certain basic social principles and who structure their activities to bring out development in communities that they're servicing. Aid money in itself are equipment or services that are provided for people, countries, or organizations who need them but cannot provide them to themselves. This is according to the Collins Dictionary. My brother Ohisa has talked about, I've had phrases of macroeconomic and the effect of aid money on macroeconomic development. That is the only point I've had when you're directing it to our. Macroeconomic development, first of all, is the responsibility of the government. Aid money, the main purpose of aid money, in most cases, when you look, the organization that disburses it is for long-term economic growth. That is macroeconomic growth, not microeconomic growth. The World Bank provides 1 billion to our county governments every financial year to help them in growth. The government of Kenya provides 340 million to county governments. So how can you basically say that this organization are causing more harm than good when you're looking at the quantum of money they're providing and to what they're directing to? Another thing is that aid money is specific. Aid money is specific. It is sent for specific reason. And if yes, the people who get aid money are corrupting it, and them themselves are corrupt, the organization that disburse this money have become smarter and have developed ways to curb corruption. That is, when their money is used for corruption, they do not disburse that money. That is what you are talking by delay in donor disbursement of funds. That the donor money is delayed because the countries by which they have been disbursed to are corrupt, or the people who are handling the money are corrupt. So they delay, so that they delay or refuse to give in a specific financial year, so that this people can learn. If this money is not used, there are consequences.
Time is up.
Okay, let me bring what I can say about this.
Time is up. Could you can I kindly allow you, maybe you'll use the other time that you have also to do more explanation, just in the interest of time. We head to the second speaker, the proposing side. That should be Mr. Omukoko.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think Andrew has mentioned a lot of points which I want to clarify. First of all, let's look at what statistics suggest. Statistics show that over 75% of the world poor live in Africa. In 1970, the figure was only 10%. And the intention of foreign aid is to get us out of poverty. And when the effect is actually the opposite of what they actually wanted to achieve. And it's estimated to rise by 90% by 2030 if foreign aid persists. The GDP per capita has also declined by an average annual rate of 0.59% between 1975 and 2000. This is first of all because of the size of the multiplier, which is not considered when foreign aid is being issued. And at the same time, our purchasing power parity has declined from $1770 to $1479. All these are happening despite the aid that we receive. Over the last 60 years, at least $1 trillion have been transferred to Africa, yet the real per capita income today is lower than it was in the 1970s. Ladies and gentlemen, let us talk about tied aid, because one of the aids that was mentioned by Andrew. So countries that receive grants and concessional loans have to buy specific products from the donor countries. So if US gives us money, we have to buy products from them. And this is good for the donor country because it's a form of promotion of their exports. The problem for us as recipient countries is that it raises the cost of goods and services. And this is evidenced by a study which was conducted by Lay, Gates, and Natalie in 2009, which shows that aid raises the cost of goods and services by 15 to 30% and by 40% for food aid. Aside from that, we can talk about aid capture, which is the correlation between aid and corruption. And a study by Reinecker and Svensson in 2004, who studied the World Bank fund to Uganda, this was a capitation grants in Uganda, that was supposed to pay for all education expenses except teachers' wages and buildings. And the researchers established that they developed a way of finding the amount of money that actually reaches these schools. And they found that the median school in their sample received 0% of its funds. That is 100% of the cash was stolen. Having these resources up for grabs is also bad because it disincentivizes the entrepreneurs and the top brains of our countries, and they end up engaging in a zero-sum rent seeking rather than investing in productive activities that are beneficial to the whole country. So instead of our entrepreneurs doing something that helps all of us, they get contracts to do something that does not help us in any way eventually. And in Uganda, the study, overall, 87% of those funds went missing. And the same study was done in other countries in Africa. The fund capture in Ghana was 49%, in Tanzania was 57%, in Zambia it was 76%. And so this was true for road projects as well. So foreign aid is not helping us if we were to consider that. We can also talk about aid and investment as well as happiness. A study by Hofsha, Reisinger, and Shapiro in 2015 shows that once happiness reduces as a neighbor receives unconditional cash transfer. And so as some of our citizens are receiving aid, more of our citizens are getting unhappier. And this is not what we expect for our country. We also have a study by Waka and others in 2009, which found that foreign aid has no effect on investment growth or GDP growth at all. It leads to increase in household and government consumption, which takes the form of increased imports and imports of non-capital goods. And capital goods do not help us to produce any more goods, which is not beneficial for an economy. And thus, the foreign aid does not fuel economic growth, but it crowds out our domestic savings and increases consumption on foreign products, which is not a good thing for Africa. So evidence, as I mentioned earlier, despite the 1 trillion that has come to Africa since 1960, we have not seen any proper development. And my final point is about aid and conflict, and I'll come to others later. That led in 1960, Nigeria-Biafra civil conflict. Biafra, which was seeking independence from Nigeria, was sieged by the army, leading to starvation. And this led to humanitarian aid that came to the Biafran leader to help these people who are suffering. The leader was Odumebu Ojukwu, who ended up using these planes to fund military movement of staff. And then the food was directed to the army. It was not directed to the people who were starving. And the result of this was that the army was able to stage a greater conflict. And this eventually made the conflict last much longer. And so this happened to Rwanda as well. When the Hutus went to DRC, they were there, and then aid came in to help these Hutus who were in refugee camps. The leaders of these Hutus took that aid, took the money, and they decided to direct it to the militia. And so the people who are starving in the refugees were left outside. But instead, and this had a very, very profound impact. It led to the government of Rwanda funding the Banyamulenge. And so this made the war continue, and the war continues to this day in Congo, the Congo conflict that we have in that place among the Banyamulenge and the Hutus. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes. I think this is I think this is this is going to be one of the most interesting conversations. Lungashi, maybe Lungashi can mute because I'm just coming to you shortly. Lungashi, thank you. So why this conversation is very important, we've mentioned different parts of the continent in Africa. We've mentioned the war in Congo, the war in Rwanda. I'm also glad that you're mentioning the story of General Ojukwu in Nigeria during the, I think that was something that most historians know, the Biafra War. And now we're bringing it back home because it seems like the opposition are saying, bring the war back home. When Oduho spoke, and Andrew spoke immediately, Andrew said, bring the war back home. Let's bring the conversation back home here in Kenya. I don't know whether Lungashi are going to take that same direction, but Lungashi, your 5 minutes begin right now. Lungashi, if you can hear me, the second speaker of the opposing side. Lungashi and Dorcas Lungashi. Lungashi Kidaka, if you can hear me, kindly unmute and speak up.
Can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay. So, fellow Kenyans, I will not overwhelm you with scholarly grammar like my proposers, but allow me to speak to your hearts and take you on a journey. NGOs and aid money are supposed to enhance the image of a state to the regular people. Since COVID started, and we reported the first case in March 2020 in Kenya, NGOs have donated almost $3 billion in tangible benefits to Kenyans. And even when we experienced the locust invasion, they gave $1 billion in US dollars to the East Africa region so that we can handle this conflict. NGOs are not the enemy, neither is aid money. The state should not die as NGOs thrive. A clear distinction should be made between NGOs and the aid money they give us and the government so that they can coexist together and work. I don't see us on a journey where we can coexist without having help from the NGOs or aid money, because we all know that they have taken us a long way and evidence is out there. My second point is optimism. I grew up in most of the informal settlements in Nairobi, like I stayed in Mathare, then moved to Huruma, Kariobangi, Dandora. I could see the power of NGOs and what they're doing. And it gave us hope that somebody really cares for us. It gave us hope that somebody out there in the world really cares about our education. They have impacted on many schools in the education sector and even improved in giving the basic stationaries and school uniforms. And unless you have had the informal settlement, will you get to see this? And we've also seen development in HIV and AIDS program where they have connected to us the very needed antiretroviral drugs. Those are just a few to mention. Like I can go on and mention how NGOs have done amazing things since time independence. And this is not something new. Even before independence, we had over 400 NGOs at current at that time. This is according to aid data information, but right now they have plummeted to almost 6,000 NGOs, and they're helping. The impact is seen in rural settlements and also in informal settlements. There's the hope that they give young people whenever they interact with them. We have seen them taking children to school, even sponsoring children to other institutions of learning. The hope that comes with NGO cannot be replaced. And our work is not to attack them or make them our enemy, but to work and coexist together with them. Research shows that when there is no NGO or aid money and the government is not present, the citizens, the common minority is hopeless. The common minority doesn't really care who gives them help, as long as they have food on the table, as long as they've been provided food. It doesn't really matter to them who gives the food, as long as there's food on the table, that is, even if there's a table. And I remember that when the time when we used to say in Dandora, there used to be a time that we used to have NGOs to even provide the basic necessities like the rice that you can, the rice to eat, general flour to give to people, and it will work, and it will give us hope that maybe another day will come, and then we can see another day. My point is, let us not look at this from the perspective that they are replacing the government or that they are trying to change the state legitimacy, or we can understand that what they give in light, they take away in darkness. But allow me to state, with the risk of losing every point that I've stated, that when you disable a child, as it has been done to African countries by the colonialists, it is almost your responsibility to help it get back to its feet. And I say that as Kenyans and as African countries, we should not be ashamed, at least we should not be ashamed to accept help from these people, because I'm not saying we're entitled to eat, but we almost deserve it because they took away so much from us. And if it comes with aid money, it comes with NGOs, we are going to take it, we're going to receive it, and they're going to improve our health sector, our education, our roads are improving, and they even provided water. Like in the informal settlement, to get something as basic as clean water and sanitation is a pipe dream, but through NGOs, if I've seen development, and there's been clear structures that have been put in place so that the common wananchi in the informal settlement can know that this project was developed by an NGO or aid money that was donated, and it was not developed by our politicians or the political leaders that we have, so that in no time can a political leader come and say that, let's say, a water project that has been put by an NGO was his work, because the NGOs take the community through the journey. Do not look at it from the perspective where they hide in the leafy suburbs of Nairobi, where they have amazing offices, and everybody wants to work with NGOs because they believe there's money. But look at the heart and intention of why NGOs was started and money given to Africa. The intention was to help, the intention was to ease the burden, and the intention was to at least make life better. So upon all hope, if you're going to attack NGOs, at least do not attack the hope and the optimism they have given us. Thank you.
I like that comeback. Lungashi says that she's not going to bore us with all the scholarly work that the proposals are doing here, but she's instead going to choose to look at the reality on the ground. Lungashi, you can mute. The reality on the ground. Lungashi, you can mute. Lungashi, thank you, Lungashi. Okay, great. So Lungashi tells us that Lungashi tells us that mute your mic. Mute your mic. Okay, thank you. I'll in that case let. Okay, very well. I hope all of you now can hear me. I was helping Lungashi mute her mic. So it is. Lungashi, it seems like Lungashi is admitting that the government has failed to do its part, so let the NGOs take over. Let the NGOs do everything that needs to be done. What I'm seeing, there's a very clear battle here between these two teams, and the battle is clear of two people who are very optimistic and are saying, you know what, we can do it on our own. We don't need the aid money. We don't need the NGOs. And even if we need them, they're just doing more harm than good. But this other side are telling, you know what, guys, the government has failed. It is not about the money. If you have to blame anyone, let's blame the people who are misusing it. That is what Lungashi and the team is saying. And her teammate, Lungashi, and that is Lungashi and Andrew. Let me now open it up to my audience who are in this virtual hall. It is very nice having all of you here. In case there's anyone with a question, just show your hand. I'll pick the question straight away, and I'll pick you and allow you raise your question to the speakers. And in case you fear talking, you can text your question. But also remember, we are live on Facebook on CAMD Voices Facebook page. In case you feel you don't want to speak up here, you can also keep chatting there. I've shared the link of Facebook with you right here in the chat box. Please just go to our Facebook page right now, like the discussion, and tell a friend that we are live and we are on this discussion that comes to you every Thursday, 8:00 p.m. to 9:00 p.m. Unfortunately, today we began late, so the show has to be 1 hour. So it will be some few minutes past 8 p.m. Wilda Nyagoha, you are on the call.
Yeah. I love the argument of both.
Would you kindly turn on your video if possible?
Okay. Now.
Okay. Yes.
I love their argument. I have questions on both sides. My question to the proposers, according to their argument, they have said that I've marked what they have said that people, the more people are receiving the NGOs money or the aids, the more people get unhappy. But they have not told us why do people get unhappy, and they have not explained to us why is this NGO or the aids harmful to our community. Then to the opposers.
Mm-hmm. Go on to the second question.
Yeah, they have talked about they have convinced us fully, but I wish they could give us examples of successful NGOs, the projects they have done, and how they have impacted in the community. Thank
you. Those questions are very clear. To those opposing and are saying that NGO and aid money is doing a wonderful job, Wilda would like to know examples of NGOs which are doing that kind of job. And to the other side, I think you've also, I saw all of you noting down the question. Thank you. Another question from the audience before Lord Lushiri? Lord Lushiri, you're on the call, sir. Turn on your video and your mic.
So good evening. Can you hear me?
Very well, sir. Go on.
So,
you are using, my brother,
just
you're
a minute.
Two devices. Okay, fine. Just fix that one. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So the proposers have really attacked the motion, and they have attacked aid money and NGOs. So I want them to tell us, in case aid money and NGOs are out of the equation, now how are we going to fill this gap? Right? So what mechanisms are they going to use to fill the gap that has been filled before by aid money and NGOs? Because we know the caliber of our government and they can't survive without this aid money and NGOs. So what mechanisms are they going to use to fill the gaps that will be left behind in case the NGOs and aid money is out of the equation?
Thank you. Thank you. Next question. Lucia, you can unmute and also close your video. Thank you. Someone else with any question? Nobody here? Okay, no one else. So, and I'll also assume I don't see any questions from the chat box. And same time, I don't see any question from, no one is raising any question from Facebook. So I'll now take it straight away to the debaters themselves. So my timekeeper, if you are there, every speaker in this round of debate has 3 minutes, either to do cross-examination as you also respond to the questions that have been raised, and also make anything clear that you started before and did not complete. Kindly use your 3 minutes well. When the first bell rings and We have one of the best bells in the world. Anyway, it sounds like a Catholic church bell, but anyway, it is fine. So when you hear the first bell, it means you have 1 minute to go. First speaker from the proposing side, that should be Mr. Oduho.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I shall address the matter which was brought forth by the first proposer. Now, you see, the discussion that I brought forth was in consideration of the fact that we are a human community. That is the rest. I will move forward to answer the question that was posed. How will the gap be filled that shall be left in the absence of aid? And the gentleman who asked the question must also submit that he is also admitting his own failure as a citizen to elect leaders that ensure that the policies of the nation are properly implemented, accountability is upheld, and that no funds are mismanaged as such. So therefore, to further convince our opponents to come to our side is that at the end of the day, what we must is that we are not enemies here in this conversation. In fact, we are for aid, but only given circumstances in which they can yield their most desired results. And as such, the circumstances in which aid is being disbursed is unsustainable. It is clearly hypocritical in that this fallacy of justice of conditionality that assumes that all situations in the recipient countries are well and good, it is a lie. Because if the facts, when clearly analyzing the facts, they don't add up. They don't add up. And I believe my fellow proposer have addressed the empirical evidence to the latter to indeed suggest that indeed aid causes more harm than it does good. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, wonderful. We go to the first speaker of the opposing side. First speaker of the opposing side, Mr. Andrew Musyoka. You're on the call, sir.
Okay. My issue.
Can you turn on your video kindly, sir? Okay.
Yes.
Go on.
I remember Omkoko talked about that there is lower income per capita right now than there has ever been. Well, I can tell you confidently that also the population of Africa has increased by over 51% fold, because the population in Africa 1960 was 227 million. The population now is 1.1 billion. Now, the lower income per capita is not caused by aid money. I believe you're looking at the wrong statistic. It is that there are more people in Africa than there has ever been. So there are more people to share a cake, a very small cake that is called the budget in our countries, which leads to lower income per capita. And that is what aid money and NGOs address. That cake, they want to increase the cake for our communities so that we can have more. I hear the dates that were mentioned were 204, 202, 1960. What about currently? What happens currently? Yes, the leaders then were corrupt. The leaders then were corrupt. But is it that the aid money was corrupt or that the leaders were corrupt? Is it that the aid money has accelerated corruption? I do not believe so. Whatever money they receive, they will still be corrupt at the end of the day. So what solution was brought up so that to address this issue of corruption, so as to address not giving to these leaders aid money? Some of the aid money is redirected back, is directed to the NGOs. NGOs which Lungashi has clearly explained how NGOs have helped our communities and have brought impact. I can give the most popular NGOs, which are AMREF, and Red Cross, you cannot deny the work that Red Cross has done in Kenya, all the relief that it has provided for communities which have been flooded, in the conflicts that happened in Taita Taveta. Red Cross was there. In fact, it was there in front of the government. This is the gap that the government cannot fill. Another thing is that I can answer Joe, without aid money and NGOs, what will the government do? What are the mechanisms they will place? Nothing. Why? The World Food Organization used to operate in Kenya, giving free lunch to primary schools in Kenya because to curb the issue of hunger in the communities. WFO was chased out of Kenya by the cabinet, Matiang'i, who was the cabinet secretary then for education. They were chased. And what is the government doing now to provide food for primary schools in Kenya? It is doing nothing. Right now, it is doing nothing. And the schools were left with the challenges, not from the government money, but to collect money from the community so as to provide, and which is to provide for the school children. But it happens in very little schools. Where food is provided for is the schools which you find in Nairobi, but look everywhere. The government will do nothing. We know our leaders, they will do nothing. And they are the ones who to place the blame on. Leave NGOs alone, let them do their work here in our communities. Let them continue impacting us. The problem is not with the NGOs, they're not doing harm. The people who are doing harm is ourselves, our leaders. It is not the fault. And it is that we young people are the ones to advocate for that change. And it is I came from high school just the other day, and I'm ready to even if it's starting my own NGO to address challenges in our country.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Whenever people are debating and you see a man laughing, there's only two possible reasons. Either man is really angry by what you are saying or is happy. I don't know what Oduho and Omukoko are laughing about, but let's go to Omukoko, the second speaker of the proposing side.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. I think we will begin with the reason as to why we are laughing. We can see a very passionate speech that misunderstands the question we are addressing today. We are not against NGOs. We are not against foreign aid. We are saying foreign aid as is structured today is doing more harm than good. And so we need to think about how to restructure it. We need to think about how to address it differently. So, and that's why we are laughing, because the passionate argument is misguided. And the question that he asks, the question that Andrew has asked is, the population of Africa has increased, and that is why we have low income per capita. But we have comparisons. Let us look at China, which has removed 500 million people from poverty, and the population has been increasing, and across Asia. The difference is we rely on foreign aid, and for them, they rely on practical solutions to real problems, including investing in manufacturing, something that we don't do because we are waiting for money to come and to be given to us for free. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know, I mean, I think that answers the question on whether what else will we do if we don't have NGOs. And just to add on that is that NGOs are actually rewarding bad governance and effectively promoting corruption, effectively promoting these governments and dictatorships. And we have seen in Kenya right now, Jack Ma funds were all taken away, Eurobond was stolen, and all these things are happening. You want us to bring it home. We were trying to provide the basics, but now let us come to the information about our country and what is happening. And the reason why Jack Ma COVID donations were taken away and Eurobond and nothing is being done by Kenyans, it's because it's not their taxes. People only care about something they pay for. And so if it's free money, then why should we protest against free money? Why should we can't do anything. So it's reducing the level of accountability that we have in our governments. But as soon as we stop receiving money from NGOs and foreign aid, people will start having their taxes used for appropriate things. And when those taxes are misappropriated, then the people will stand up because it's their money and they feel for it. I know Africa is like a small child that everyone wants to carry around. Everyone wants to carry around. But when shall Africa ever learn to walk on itself if everyone is always carrying it with foreign aid? Oh, Africa, have this, have this. Africa must be put down, and that is the only way it will learn to walk. And that is good for us eventually and in the long term. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for explaining why you are laughing. Now I know. Second speaker from the proposing side, Miss Lungashi?
Am I clear?
Very clear.
Okay, so allow me first to address Omukoko and just state that one thing we will not do is restructure NGOs. They should have the security of tenure to do as they please and as their intention, because there's a document that protects them and guides what they're doing. We're not trying to, NGOs are not trying to replace government. They're supposed to complement it. They're supposed to supplement it, not to supplant it. The problem comes when people over depend or over want from NGOs. But just allow me to also ask you a question. There has been a lot of corruption happening in the country ever since time immemorial, and it has been from our taxes. So the point that you're putting forward, that we will start fighting when money that we are paying for or our taxes has been mishandled, is just out of order, because our taxes have been misappropriated for the longest time ever, and all we do recently is we fight on social media, or when we go out in the streets we get tear gassed. So do we really care about our taxes or what we are paying for, or whether we get the services? Yes, we do care that our taxes end up giving us the services that we want, like good healthcare, good schools, but we aren't, there's a certain kind of apathy that Kenyans just have towards fighting for what they believe in. And the problem comes when we expect NGOs to come and fill up all these gaps in the name that the government is not providing. But allow me to educate the proposers that NGOs have a clear cut-out structure that they follow, and that they ensure that citizens do not get misguided or think that the services being provided has been offered by the government. They ensure that they work with communities through the journey and tell them that this is aid money, this is an NGO organization that is providing these services, so that your local MCA, your local politician does not come and try to lie to you that this water, we are the ones who have provided it, or the children are going to school because we have done it. So our work as a country should not be to try and question whether we really need the help from NGO, because being a third world country, I believe we severely need this help. And there are communities in the rural settlements that without NGOs, probably half the population would even be going to school, or will be losing women in childbirth, which is not something that should be happening with this day and age. We are still battling with simple health diseases like malaria and the sort. And when you go mashinani kabisa, where mwananchi is, you find out that NGOs have played an important role, a critical role in ensuring that healthcare and education are at their best. Need I say that Kenya is not ready to break free from NGO or aid money at the moment, unless you have put the correct structure in place, and unless you have found a way to curb government expenditure of our money, or the way the corruption has taken over our taxes. We are not ready to be independent from NGOs or aid money. Allow me to repeat and reiterate that when you disable a child, it is your responsibility to at least ensure that it can get back to its feet. And we should not be ashamed to accept this help. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. Now we are heading to our last 1 minute each for every speaker. Now we need to convince us why your side should win this debate. Why your side should win this debate. You know, when Lungashi speaks, she reminds me of Mercy Vugursa, who one day told us on this panel, she's comfortable with 10% of Kenyans getting a job than 90% getting it, because anyway, as long as even a small percentage gets it, it's better than nothing. So Lungashi is reminding us that, you know what, she's even ready to go start an NGO right now. And that's exactly what Andrew told us. Oduho and Mukoko, you are still insisting that these people are doing more harm than good. In the next 1 minute each, for the next segment, in 1 minute, using your 1 minute each, how do you want to convince us that your side should take the day, or Mukoko? No, or Hisa Oduho, the first speaker of the proposing side.
Yeah, so I think in the end, the opposers joined our camp, and the reason is this: the reasons that they're giving in the end allude to the fact that indeed the governments in which these NGOs and the aid is being directed to are failing in their duties, and as such, they allude to the fact that, you know, it creates overdependency, and that point in itself alludes to the fact that aid, therefore, creates more harm than good. I rest my case.
Thank you. But Duho rests his case there, and Duho believes that the opposers switch sides and join the proposers. First speaker, your last 1 minute. First speaker, the opposing side, Andrew Musyoka.
Better light a candle than cast the darkness. I'm telling you this. It is better for you to light your own candle. It is better for you to bring your own change, because darkness will remain to be as it is. It is static, and it will never change unless there is light which is shown. And the light you can shine is by lighting up your own candle. This side I'm opposing is not my side, is not our side. It is the side. It is the fact. It is what is true, that whatever kind of mishaps that have happened past because of aid money and NGOs, the quantum of good has overly outweighed the quantum of bad that NGOs and aid money has done to our communities. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Mukoko.
Yeah, thank you very much. Better light a candle indeed. Don't let anyone light it for you through foreign aid. Our conclusion is this, that no nation on this planet has ever developed because of foreign aid. Be it China, be it US, be it all these countries decided to do it for themselves, and that is sustainable. Foreign aid is not sustainable, and it will not take us anywhere. Thank you.
Foreign aid is not sustainable, it will not take us anywhere. So Omukoko, you're using Andrew's own, he has just sharpened his own knife and now you're using it to cut him anyway. These are the tactics of debaters. Dr. Slungash, your 1 minute begins right now, Mom.
Unlike the proposers in their scholarly grammar, I refuse to rest my case because this issue will haunt us for the longest time ever. When I was in primary school, we were given these beautiful shoes, Toms and UNICEF bags from an NGO, and the hope that it gave us, the joy that it gave us to just go to school with these beautiful rubber shoes and this bag is unrivaled. And because of these shoes and bags, we were able to stay in school and learn. Fellow Kenyans, trust me, we are not ready to be independent from aid money and the NGOs. We are not ready just yet, unless we have put our house in order. And for the meantime, I remind us, if you disable a child, it is your responsibility to ensure that it gets back to its feet. And we should be unashamed in accepting this help. Thank you.
So, Lungashi, you are not resting your case at all, right?
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. I think you should clap for yourselves, gentlemen and lady, or lady and gentlemen. You can unmute and clap for yourselves. You've done a wonderful job. Okay, one thing about debates is that debates are fun, debates never end. And we just want to prove to everyone that anything can be debated, because we are coming back here next week with another very interesting topic. Imagine a lady approaching you. I know it is something that is so un-African, yeah? Or would you allow a lady to approach you when a lady is interested in you? Or Mukoko, would you allow that to happen? Andrew, would you allow that to happen?
Why not?
Why not? Would you allow that to happen?
Times have changed, my brother. But, you know.
Now the hunter has become the hunted. Fantastic. Or Mukoko, would you allow that to happen?
It's too early to say. Let's see how it goes.
It is too early to say. Amazing. Thank you so much, guys, for joining this debate. You've made this debate possible. And as I told you earlier, I'm a big supporter of one of the best teams in the world. Of course, I think not one of the best, but the best team in the world. That is Chelsea FC, the Blues. Yeah? And right now we have a coach by the name Tuchel. When he joined Chelsea, he said that he's going to make a club that no one will want to play against. What we're trying to do with the debate night, we are trying to create a platform that no one will ever want to miss. We want to make sure that every Thursday night at 8 p.m., we are all on this panel debating and talking about issues that the country needs to know, that the world needs to know. We do not fear talking. In fact, if possible, we should even be able to talk about the budget that has been presented to us Kenyans today. But anyway, that is a story for another day. Allow me welcome 2 or 3 people from members of the audience just to say hello to us before we call it a day. Stephen Zusa, are you there, sir? You are new in our midst. You can get in and just say hello to people. Stephen Zusa, if you can hear me, sir. Stephen Zusa. Okay. Stephen Zusa is not here. Who else is here who is new? Let me see. Victory Wangui. Victory Mugambi, are you there? Victory Mugambi, if you can hear me. Seems these people are not here. Okay, but anyway, thank you all to the debaters, and thank you for everyone who was watching. For those who joined us in the virtual hall right here, you are amazing people. To those who have been following on Facebook, you make this program possible. We're meeting again next time because we believe in the spirit of debate. And to our wonderful bell ringer, to our wonderful timekeeper, we must say that you're one of the most innovative people we've ever met in our lives, because yes. I don't know the type of bell you are using, but whatever you are using, keep using it. It is doing wonders. Thank you so much, Wildan. Thank you everyone for who organized this. And also to Derek Masabawere and Alex Uburu working on our media. Derek Masabawere, who is always on toes, keeping it with everyone. Asanteni sana. We meet again next time. Thank you and have a good night.